Welcome to the Rushmore Show, where we're about to dive into the legendary world of Nintendo and unveil the top 4 games that have defined generations of gamers.
Get ready to embark on an unforgettable journey, solve puzzles, and explore magical worlds, all within the Nintendo universe.
From beloved classics to modern masterpieces, our episode pays homage to the games that have captured the hearts of players of all ages.
This countdown isn't just about games, it's a celebration of the creativity and innovation that Nintendo has brought to the gaming industry.
Grab your light gun, subscribe to our channel, and prepare to revisit the top 4 Nintendo games that have shaped the gaming landscape.
You ready to power up? Because the Rushmore Show starts right now.
This is the Rushmore Show, where it's all about your top 4 and nothing more. Kirk, here we are, episode 106, and we're still kicking it, man. We're still kicking it with video games. We are now into the second month of video games. If you joined us last week live, that was a blast. Every so often we're going to go live. We're doing some live episodes. Totally fun to hang out with you guys in the comments. This one, we're going to keep going with our video game theme. Kirk, how you feeling about 2 months of video games?
Man, it's been a blast. We've knocked out platformers, RPGs. Last week with our retro gamer dad, we did the top 4 villains of all time in video game history, and today we move into old school, and this is where I love to be, and it is time to do our top 4 Nintendo games.
Oh man, it's going to be fun. This is going to be fun. We're old school people, right?
Old school, yeah. Hey, look, I love what you got there. Up, up, down, down, left, right, left, right. What's that?
Yeah,
you're trying to get 30. You trying to get 30 men here. I'm the old guy. I should probably get that extra.
Konami code here. We love it. We love the old school, the throwback, all that kind of stuff. Let me just tell you before we get into today, I definitely played Nintendo, but this was like, I was like a baby when this kind of came out, and hardly born. So like I played it a little bit later, but there's still a lot of fond memories. You can't go wrong with one of the most iconic controllers of all time, which I got right behind me. So this is just fun stuff, man. A lot of classics got their start or early start on this system, and it kickstarted a lot of things for Nintendo, which is my favorite of all, definitely.
Yeah, so you've said it from the jump. Nintendo is your George of systems, and it's not, this particular one isn't the number one, but the company as a whole.
Yeah.
And I can't just disagree with you too much, because I love it. It's my 1 or 2 always with that and PlayStation. But we have a great guest today, and his niche is video games, and it is more so in the Nintendo realm. And I'm excited to get started and welcome our guest today. So, hey, look, if you're still here hanging around, watching us in episode 106, you know the drill. Go down in the comments and let us know right now your top 4 Nintendo games of all time. And it's time to get our guest. Let's get it. All right,
let's
Andy,
get it. Like
it's time to welcome our guest. And look here, let's just paint the little picture. We have had Davey come on and do Mario games. We've had from Davey with Louisiana RetroCon. We met Keith, Pick and Preacher. He came on and did RPGs. And through him, we've met our friends Bert over at Bert's Beats. We've met a couple other gamers, and in the comments for him, I met a guy called Retrocart Collector. And I want to welcome right now to the show another Canadian, Screech. Welcome to the show.
What's going on, everybody? Hey,
man?
yo.
What's up?
How's it
So,
going, everybody? You guys doing good?
Doing good, man. Excited.
I kind of joke with you about the Canadian thing. We've actually had one Canadian on here before, by way of Pakistan. So our good friend Cobb has been on the show twice. He's out from Canada and goes back quite often. All right, Screech, man, tell us about Retrocart Collector. Our family, our community is called the Summit Squad. Tell them what you're kind of doing in your niche. What is the journey you've taken? And I mean, I've seen you just started like in August, already like almost 450 subs. That took us like 2.5 years. But share it and tell us where we can find you.
You can find me on YouTube, Retrocart Collector. I'm on Instagram, Retrocart Collector as well. Like you said, kind of sticking to those Nintendo games, collecting the Nintendo, going for the whole set for the NES. Just started doing Super Nintendo, Game Boy, going to work into some N64, kind of sticking with those cartridge style games for the Nintendo right now. Eventually, maybe we'll get into like Sega, stuff like that. But that's where I am right now. So that's what we're trying to pull off.
I love that. I love that.
My love language, which is N64. So
yeah,
I appreciate
it. So Andy is collecting N64 games. He started that in these conventions that we've been doing. And I have started, because I was kind of jealous watching everybody kind of collect. I thought maybe Nintendo 700 games is a lot. That it's just a ton. And some of them are super expensive. And so I was like, I want one that is not worth as much, but much more fun to play. So I'm collecting PlayStation 2. And that's kind of where I landed because that's my favorite system. But speaking of conventions, hey, this is a good time before we jump on. We met Pick and Preacher, Davey, and all that. But during these conventions, we're getting an amazing opportunity. Thank you, Davey. Our next show is on March 2nd and 3rd here there at where Andy's at in Louisiana, Morgan City. And he's giving us an opportunity for you guys that don't know. We're pastors, and we're getting an opportunity to preach at the convention. And I just wanted to share really quickly our little trailer.
Prepare to make the jump to light speed.
They're getting closer.
Oh, yeah? Watch this.
Reboot.
Yeah,
man.
that's our reboot. Man, I love it. I love it every time I see it. That's our reboot. Just a little ministry that we decided to give back to the collecting community at these conventions. And Screech, I saw just recently that you were at the convention down in Florida. Man, I really wanted to make that
really rad weekend. Yeah.
How was Rad Weekend?
It was awesome. It was a smaller convention. It was at like a beach resort, and it was fun because there was a lot of different creators there that you could really interact with and talk to. It was a blast. Absolutely a great time.
Yeah, that's why I really wanted to go. Some of the big heavy hitters in the creator world as far as video games were there. Guys I've been following since before I was doing YouTube. And so I really enjoyed seeing you down there. And then I just saw a short just this morning that Keith put out, Pick and Preacher, of you hooked him up with 2 Sega Saturn games. I believe it was Sonic Battle and one other one. But yeah, so it reminded me that you were at the Rad Bash the Rad Weekend.
Yeah.
So anyways, with all that being said, everybody go to Retrocart Collector. Look, you want to get in now, it's like stock, right? You get in now, you get to know him now. When he's big, he might be able to throw you something because his thing is blowing up. Hey, so Screech, this is how we do things around here. It's Rosie is our bottom of the tier. We consider him probably number 4 on the President's Mountain. And then we work our way up. TJ Jazzy Jeff, Link, George, do me a favor. Tell us what you were thinking, because you are doing this collection, how hard it must be to pick only 4. And then we'll get started with our number 4.
It wasn't as hard as I thought it was going to be when I kind of narrowed it down because of the criteria I set for why I picked them. So it really wasn't
you've been
that
watching the
hard for these
show.
ones. I have been watching this show. So when I picked these ones, it was a lot easier. The Benjamins, maybe a little more difficult to narrow some of those down that I thought would be fun to look at. So it really wasn't that bad. There's a lot of amazing games on this system, though.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm there with you. There were some games that stood out. So, but let's get into your list, man. What is your Rosie? Now, let me just say this: Rosie, number 4. We think he's the 4th most important president on there, which is great. You're 4, right? But what makes it difficult for us most of the time is this is that line, right? We say it all the time. This is that line in the sand. No other game makes it onto the list, right? So this kind of is closes the door. This is the gatekeeper. What is your Rosie for NES games?
So when I was picking these, I went with stuff that meant something to me as a kid, ones that really resonated with me and I have really fond memories of, ones that I absolutely loved. And with that, Rosie absolutely had to be Excite Bike. I loved Excite Bike as a kid. It was so much fun building tracks. I have such fond memories of playing games with my buddy, and just this one, phenomenal. Had to be number 4 for me.
Man, I love this pick. Andy, so this is an even older game in the catalog of NES. So I'm pretty sure you don't have a ton of time for this. What do you think about Excite Bike?
I think that you took it off my Benjamins. This was a good game. I've played this game before, but I will tell you, I like Excite Bike 64. That's just because I'm a 64 guy. But if we're picking these ones, this is a classic game. Building the tracks, of course, just a super fun game. So, and also it's one of those ones. NES has those classic covers. The artwork that's
those black box games, right?
Yeah. So this is a fantastic game. Love it. Great pick.
Yeah, man. I'm smiling. I'm overheating. It's so good. But here's the thing. I love any single game that gives you an opportunity to build your own something, whether it's character, track. I remember way back old days, Load Runner, you'd make your own board. I just love those games that allow you to kind of do and design. But what I love about this game more than anything is it was an arcade port, and the original arcade game was at our local skating rinks in Slidell, where we're from, and we would have skate night for the school, and everybody would be over there trying to like talk to the cheerleader or whatever, and I'm over there like playing Excite Bike like crazy. That was one of those games that I loved playing. It's just a blast game. I don't have this anywhere on my list. My catalog is so long. I mean, we would have eventually made it to it. It is a great game. I love how the nostalgia comes in, and that's exactly what we are at the Rushmore Show, just nailing out that nostalgia in those moments. So we appreciate that.
Good pick. Way to start the game.
All right, Andy. So we are in the second month. So now, even though it's still video games, I guess I'm going number 2 now, right? I would say.
Sure. Why not? Let's go for it. You want to rock, paper, scissors?
Yeah. So, hey, what's that?
So you want to rock, paper, scissors right now, live?
Snake, rattle, and roll? I don't know. Anyways.
I'll give you take the 2. All right. What's your pick?
I'll take 2. All right. So, criteria. Let's drop the criteria out. And these are the games that, in my mind, I logged the most hours. This is the games in my mind that I logged the most hours. Now, Andy mentioned it a couple weeks back. Older games, we didn't really keep track of hours. That wasn't a thing. But I know sitting in front of my CRT little TV, on my homemade desk that was in my room. I played these games ridiculously. It was my first system that was mine. We had an Atari in the house, but it was the family Atari. This was my system. It was in my room, and I played it like nonstop. As you'll see today, I think all of my games here, depending on how Benjamin's kind of line up, but most of my games still have my name from when I was a kid. They got some tattoos on them, as one of our old friends had already said. And you're going to hear a couple of these that we've already mentioned because of just the nature of our show. We've talked about them. So it's kind of like picking the George of most of these other games, right? But this first one, you have only heard this in a non-video game space. And look, Andy, you know it just as well as I do. This show comes out in a few weeks. Hopefully they're still alive. But I'm a Kansas City Chiefs fan, and there's only one reason I'm a Kansas City Chiefs fan is because of this video game right here, Tecmo Super Bowl. Tecmo Super Bowl. There's the name right there on the side of it. I was a huge Bo Jackson fan. Played Raiders a lot, because Bo Jackson was the cheat code, right? He was OP. And I would go, back then you played 16 games. I'd play through the season. I'd go 14-2, and I would lose to, in this game, a pink Kansas City Chiefs team with Steve DeBerg and Christian Okoye. And I fell in love with Christian Okoye, the Nigerian Nightmare. He became my guy. I remember walking out from playing this game, and I mean, I've played to the Super Bowl 150 times. As a matter of fact, I started it again while we were doing this. Every year, playing it on the phone now, Andy, with the Retro Bowl. But yeah, I couldn't have a list without this game on it. A lot of people ask me, why Kansas City Chiefs? You don't live anywhere near there. Well, again, I was a Bo Jackson fan. They beat us. And I came out and I said, Dad, how are the Chiefs? And he was like, they suck, son. And I was like, well, the Saints suck too, because we were in New Orleans. And I was like, I think I might want to be a fan of theirs. He's like, nah, they suck. You don't want to be a fan of theirs. Well, like the next year or so, they got Joe Montana, and I'll never forget it. Nick Lowry, their kicker, walked off the Saints in a field goal, and I was a Chiefs fan from ever since, and still to this day. Had to have it on my list. Andy, I know that disappoints you. I saw your head go into your hands. But, I had to get a Patrick Mahomes in here. Patrick Mahomes. He's not on this one, but he should be.
No, he wasn't on this game. I don't even think he was alive. But you took this from my Benjamins for sure. This was up there. And I'll talk about it in my criteria when I get to my pick of how a lot of these games made my list. But yeah, I mean, if you're gonna go classics, like there's only a couple more games I think for this system that are maybe as iconic or not or more iconic than Tecmo Bowl, right? So fantastic game, love it. Also, I love the nod to retro ball. If you have not played that on your phone, it's the most addictive game. If you were a Tecmo fan, get the game because it's crazy. But
yeah, I'm playing both retro and the college one at the same time.
Same here, buddy. Same here. So, Screech, you in on this Super Tecmo?
I don't honestly. Being from where I am, I mean, if there was sticks and skates, maybe so. I've never really played that one. I don't have much knowledge on any of the football ones for this system because it wasn't really a thing.
Well, all the rest of the football ones, other than this one and the regular Tecmo Bowl, aren't really that good. If I'm going to throw that out there,
stick with that one. What you're telling me is, if I'm going for it, go for that one.
Yeah, if you're going to try. But hey, there are some good sticks and skates games out there.
There really are, aren't there?
Yeah. So, and we're from down south, so there's not a lot of hockey. The hockey team never survived that shows up down here because it's just too hot. But I love hockey. It's fun to watch. And talking about the goats and the Rushmore there, that's a good conversation we haven't had yet. But I would love to. But all right, man. So, Andy, you are up. What's your criteria?
Yeah. So criteria wise for me, as I mentioned before, this system was like as I was an infant. So I'm not playing it as it's happening, but I will say this, and I've mentioned him a few times on the show. I have an uncle who's like 5, 6 years older than me, and he was like the cool uncle. It almost felt like a cousin because he's not that much older than me. And he had the Nintendo, right? The original Nintendo. And I do
Sure.
remember going to their house playing these games. He had all of them. He had the Genesis, he had the Super Nintendo, he had the Nintendo. I think they even had like Atari, like they had it all, right? But I do remember playing these games on Nintendo, and you know, there's so many games that are just, again, I'm saying it again, that just got their start, that are just so iconic, so you almost feel forced to pick some of these games because it's tough, right? There's just so many great ones on here. And actually, you know, the two that I've already mentioned have come off my Benjamin, so I'm starting to worry a little bit. Hopefully, I can hold strong. But with all of that said, man, I'm going to go for my Rosie, a game that was mentioned a couple weeks ago when we talked. I believe it's when we talked platformers, when we talked with Rad Bash and Mad Belmont. Kirk, this was one of your picks. There's a lot to pick from this from these games, but I'm going to go with for the Nintendo, definitely I think the best one, and I'm going with Mega Man 2. Mega Man 2 is my Rosie. This is a fun game. I'll say this, as a child, extremely difficult, like, to beat these games, right? It was just hard. You feel like there's like 1,000 bullets and things coming your way. It's like, how do I dodge all this stuff? But I love the artwork of this game. I love the gameplay of everything. To me, Mega Man 2, this was the one that I spent most time playing until like Mega Man X and things like that later on, that I was playing. But 2 was the one that I consistently went to. As I was doing my research, and I was just, one thing that I did to do my research, and this kind of goes into my criteria, is I just Googled screenshots of gameplay, and like, how much nostalgia did that screenshot bring back to me? And almost everything that happened, like, everything that I'm looking at, I'm like, yeah, see, yeah. I watched videos of people playing stuff. I did probably more research into this one, because I had to a little bit, because it was a lot of stuff I played secondhand, right? But Mega Man 2 is such a fun game. We want to talk about music. We want to talk about just all of these iconic elements of a game. And Mega Man's been a hugely successful series of games. So I'm going to go all the way back. Mega Man 2 is my Rosie.
Whew.
Yeah.
Retrocart,
That's a
what you
spicy
think?
one right there.
Oh,
Mega Man 2 is awesome. That is, of all the Mega Man games, that would be my top one.
yeah, nice.
I love the sprites in it. It was like playing, as a kid, it was like playing a cartoon, right? You were playing it, you saw everything was just so awesome. Some of the sprites are just huge figures that are coming at you. It is such a cool game. This one, that's an awesome pick for sure.
Yeah, and to your point about the sprites, I think that this is one of those games that was so colorful too. You know what I mean? Like, just very bright, the gameplay, and I mean, just a ton of fun. So, Kirk,
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I mean, I mentioned it before on platformers. I love the music, right? And just everything from, and we talked about some pause screens before, but the transition screens, the going to Dr. Wily, every level's music in the intro. I mean, I used to put the intro on, and you would go up that cityscape, and when it get to him, it'd start playing that music, and we'd start dancing as kids. I mean, like 8, 9, we're just dancing in our living room, not even playing the game, man. I love this game. But look, you're right. Screech, you're so correct on the sprites and this being the number one and all that, because let's just be honest, the very first one was a great game, but it was so hard.
Punishingly hard.
And I've only beaten that game once, and I had to do the pause electo on that freaking boss because he's impossible. And you only you only get so many lives, so many continue that thing. Like it's just impossible of a game. But I remember beating that and being like, oh, I finally did it. These next few after that get a little easier. And this was the very first one as a young kid that you felt accomplished when you did so. Like you're like, it's not so hard, but it is. Yeah, it's a great game. I love it.
Absolutely.
So
All right, well,
that is a great start.
Yeah, man.
Gosh,
That's a good
Rosie is done. All right, Screech, you're up. And we call this one TJ Jazzy Jeff. Thomas Jefferson. That's our third guy on the list. And yeah, you're up, man. You're up. This time you don't need to give any criteria. You can just jump on in.
Just jump right into it. Well, this one, I feel like I do need just a hair of criteria because I feel like the one I picked for this one, it was better than the first one by like an arm's length. And it's what we all wanted for that first one to be. And that's going to be Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, the arcade. This one, we all had that very first Turtles game came out, and it was huge. We all wanted to play Turtles, and then we got that, and it was just almost a letdown. So when this one came out, this was fire. This one is so good. I love everything they did with this. I wish the first one would have been more like this one. And the fact that it is like an arcade. I love that the arcade you play 4 players on. This is such a good game. I actually have a buddy that when I picked up my arcade, we had to go back because it wasn't working when I got it home. We went back. So we're in this huge warehouse full of these stand-up arcades. And he stumbles upon Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, the arcade. So he had to pick that one up because it's just such an iconic game.
Yeah, this is a good one. There's a lot of actually TMNT games for the NES. I was looking back at that stuff, and I will say, and again, I know we're not doing Super Nintendo, but there's a game out there that I thoroughly enjoy on that side. But this is a good one. Correct me if I'm wrong. Was the first one? Did they have the colors for them? Wasn't there some or one of the games where they didn't distinguish the colors?
Yeah, it was. They were all, and it's like a side-scrolling platformer, and
yeah, there it is. It's got it.
It's just ridiculously hard. Like most people in that game have never made it past the dam level because once you get in there, that seaweed just takes you out.
Yeah. So let me tell you what got me back into video games, Screech. A couple years back, I don't even remember what I was doing. YouTube kind of gave me a video game video, and it brought me to another guy that brought me to another guy, and then it brought me to somebody who was like doing speed runs. And I'm like, what the heck is this speed run stuff? So I'm watching the guy beat Mario in like 5 minutes. And then all of a sudden it flips him and he's doing Ninja Gaiden, which is like the most impossible game. He does that in like 8 minutes. And then he goes to this freaking game and he beats this in like, I don't know, freaking 12 minutes or something. And I'm like, no way. So I went in this chasm of a hole watching speedrunners play impossible games. And this game, if we're doing Rushmore of impossible games, that number one is on it. To me, that one, and of course, I just mentioned Mega Man, and Ninja Gaiden, they're probably on there. But go back to your pick. It is on a Benjamin. You're taking a Benjamin from me. It probably, in a few weeks, we have Blerdish coming on, and he is going to do beat 'em ups, and this is potentially on that mountain as well. Great game. It's a port from one of the best arcade games ever, which was on my arcade, Rushmore. I love this game. I love the Turtles. I did pull that one out just because you mentioned it, Andy, like you were reading my mind. The original game only had red on it, like the original comic book, basically, and which is really cool. But yeah, this is a great game. I totally appreciate that. So, hey, look, man, my next 3 are not going to be any surprises. They're just not. And I'm sorry to be so boring, but it's hard to do something you love so much and do something super dynamic and like kind of go. But my Benjamins hopefully will bring us back. And but I am going to go with. Crushing, man. I'm going Mega Man 2, baby. There it is. And look, we did it on platformers. It was my George. Gosh, I love this game so much. I didn't mention this, and look, I even put Kirk P in case there's another Kirk around that might want that one. I had this funny thing where I would like color in the triangle there, but even on my instruction booklet, there is a code to get somewhere, probably Dr. Wiley. But what I love about this game was how you could beat one boss to help you get another boss. Like, I didn't mention that in the platformers, but like you kind of chose your own adventure, and most people go Airman first or Metal Man first because those two weapons get you to the next to get you to and kind of build your way up. Usually Quick Man and Flash Man later, but I love this game. I like the concept. I like the whole idea. And I remember that dragon at the end, man, just being like, wow, this is so cool. And you kind of hop in those incredible jumps, and then you get to Wily, and of course, I mean, Capcom, you choose the bubble to beat this guy, and it's like you're choosing every weapon and getting destroyed and you finally like, let's try the bubble. It don't do anything, and it like beats him in like 3 hits. I love this game. We talk about it. The artwork is great on the cover. The music is fantastic. Capcom is on my Rushmore of Nintendo, or all companies probably. I love a lot of what Capcom does. But yeah, I'm gonna totally appreciate that and crush with you, Andy. So that's my number 2. My number 3 on the mountain. Number 2 talking today. TJ, Jesse, Jeff.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it. This is a great game. This is a fantastic game. You did say that too, like the passwords to help you to make it a little less impossible to beat.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
You could get back to where you were once you got to this spot.
So. I mean, there's another one right here. I mean, it's too bright to see, but it's like right under. Anyways, it's it's anticlimactic. But I actually wrote it in the password section. That's funny. Like
that's a lost art. I mean, back today, I mean, having the booklets and all that kind of stuff, that's super fun. So I love your pick. All right.
Yeah.
I guess
so. This is a great pick. So look, hey, we'll just jump since we've already talked about it.
Yeah.
Andy, what's your next one?
Yeah, start keeping the trend of extremely difficult games conversation going. This game is so fun, but you can't deny how difficult this game was. But it's just an iconic one. We talk about iconic sprites. We talk about the other company that I love, Rare, put this game out, and we're gonna go Battletoads. Battletoads makes the list in my pizza gap. Yep, and you're saying it right now. Pause music. This could be up there with that. It's just a super fun game, man. It's just, no matter how difficult it was, it just felt different because of the Toad side of things, right? It was kind of like that idea of the Ninja Turtles, right? Where it was just these anamorphic, whatever kind of thingies that would fight.
Rash and Zitz.
Yeah,
right.
You would side scroll and you would just beat everyone up and stuff. They had cool levels, like the one, I think there's the level where you're like, where you're descending down through like a tree or
your
something
feet are like growing and like you're turning into a wrecking ball.
There was like a few little different things that got added in there that just made this very fun and iconic. So I don't know how much else to talk about this game, but it's a super fun game. This is one that I had, and I remember distinctly, again, like I said, playing this on my uncle's system, getting so mad at this game because it was difficult, but there was something about it, and I think it was just all of the things I mentioned that just kept me coming back to it. So Battletoads is going to make it My TJ Jazzy Jeff.
Hey, so I didn't mention this because I did do my homework a little bit, and I saw a little conversation of this with you, Andy, in the Facebook side. If you're here from Facebook, welcome. But I was like, oh, maybe he puts Battletoads. But when I was talking about hardest games out there, I probably just named our Rushmore right there. Those are the four, probably. There's a couple that might squeeze in. Mega Man, Battletoads, Ninja Gaiden, and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles would round up a pretty tough one. But let me just say this. This game, I love this game so much. I've never beaten it. I own it. That jet ski part,
Oh,
right?
Yeah.
It was so fun. Like, I would have it to where I could like almost close my eyes and beat it. But when you had to jump and hit that ramp, I can't tell you how many times as a little kid I just could not nail it. I could not hit it. And I remember actually finally doing it, once out of every 100 times I play. That next scene, that next level going up that tower is like impossible. Like this game is so hard. The snakes and all that stuff it does. This game is so hard. Love the game though. Kind of a Ninja Turtle-esque type, but great game. Great.
For sure. Screech, what you think about Battletoads, man?
You pulled it off my Benjis for sure.
Nice. I did it to someone
like
else.
You said, yay! Like it came with that time with the turtles. They were riding that wave, right? And it's, again, like you said, it is so difficult. But how a game could be so hard and still everyone loves it, right? Like most people think it's amazing, even though a lot of people never made it past like that. Like you said, that speeder bike jet ski level, right? That was incredibly hard. Oh, I have nightmares about that one. But great, absolutely amazing pick, though. It's such a classic, iconic game for sure.
It's hard to skip those iconic ones. Hey, one thing I'll add, we want to talk about impossible games. This is going to the arcade, but it was released on a couple other systems too. Metal Slug was as soon as you put quarters in that thing, there was 1,000 bullets coming at you. You get hit like 3 times.
That's kind of how I feel about some shoot 'em ups.
Oh, yeah, or that, yeah. So anyway,
like spaceships and all that. Sometimes you're like, the first couple levels, you get that you build your gun up, and if you don't get your gun to the right spot, there's just too much going on, and you're dead. I hate it, but that's kind of how Metal Slug is. Hey man, that's the first half of our mountain, and it is time to have a little commercial. And I bet there are some fantastic retro cart Nintendo commercials out there. Let's give them a look.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
Yeah. Watch Zelda become a legend on your Nintendo Entertainment System.
Zelda! Up the rocks!
Which way to go?
Good times! Pee hands!
Levers!
Zelda!
The Legend of Zelda. A never-ending adventure new for your Nintendo Entertainment System.
Zelda!
Warning, such behavior is irresponsible, immature, and very foolish. We recommend you try it at home. Paperboy from Mindscape for your Nintendo Entertainment System.
Welcome back to the Rushmore Show, where it's all about your top 4 and nothing more. Andy, that was some great Nintendo commercials, a blast to the past, a bunch of nostalgia, and like my boy Screech, now you're playing with power. I love it. So here's the thing, though. If you guys look down below, thank you for being here. You can check us out on all of our socials. We're on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and even on Twitch and Twitter. Our Discord's rolling by right now. Come join the team. But our favorite one is this one, Culture Box. And that's our friends that are over joining us with the same mission in mind. It's a bunch of Christian creators. They do movies, video games, TV, all kinds of stuff. And Andy, we have someone to kind of pinpoint and talk about today. And it's very fitting since Retrocart is here. Who are we talking about today?
Well, today we're going to talk about our good friends Francisco and Paul J. Powers over at the Retro Rewind podcast. Every other week, join the Retro Rewind pod as they travel back 15 or more years along the entertainment space-time continuum in their mission to review movies and games, establishing what is still worth your time today. Expect fun banter and trivial insights from Francisco, Paul, and rotating guest hosts who are all out of time. You know, I'm thinking about this, and the fact that 15 years is considered retro makes me feel old. I mean, 15 years ago was literally 2009. I mean, we're like 2009. That's crazy.
My wedding anniversary is now retro, which is crazy. So,
it's crazy. You know. Anyway,
I'm at 15 years, so
much younger, but I graduated high school in 2007. So, I mean, you know, that's still
going back in time.
Whoa.
All right, so
making me feel old here.
Yeah, sorry about that, guys.
Yeah.
I do that.
So wait, we haven't even talked about that. Screech, how old are you?
43.
Okay, so I'm 45. So you're in between us. He's 35. So you're kind of in the middle, which makes a lot more sense that you're on this side of the ball than that side. So yeah, I'm 45. So I was born in 78. So, but Screech, it is time for the second half of the mountain. This is where it gets usually easier for everybody because you always have a favorite, right? And you're probably wrestling with a couple too that you're trying to figure out which one's which one's first. That's kind of how it always is. But we call this one Link. Who do you have on your mountain?
So for my Link, I think Andy's going to maybe really like this one. It's going to be Final Fantasy. Because I know Andy loves RPGs, right? So Final Fantasy, I have such fond memories of this one. Every minute I've played this one through numerous times. I remember playing it at birthday parties with friends, like staying up all night long and making it to like the intro screen where you're crossing the bridge and it says Final Fantasy and thinking, oh, we made it so far. We barely scratched the surface back then. This one led into my love for Final Fantasy games across the board. Super Nintendo ones are my absolute favorite. This is such a fun game. And if you're looking for a RPG to play, Andy, this might be start here. So it's a really good one, I promise.
Okay. I'll let Kirk talk about this one. He's pulling out his library.
I absolutely love this. I love this pick. There is my instruction manual. Hey, look, here is the map. I found this the other day, and I was like so excited because I thought I lost this. But this is my original map with the whole Final Fantasy bestiary on it. Dude, it is ripped up, writing on it. It may not be worth as much because it's not pristine, but to me, this is invaluable. This is so cool. I love this game so much. And, you know, it is truly the predecessor to what we consider the RPG today, the turn-based RPG. For you, David Finn, yes, it is turn-based and it is fantastic, and I love this pick. Thank you for bringing that on, and thank you for being another person on this side of
course.
Right.
This is the good
Right.
side, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Andy,
we'll
we
just
know
leave it.
how you feel. We know how you feel.
As you're saying all this, I think some funny content, and write this down. I know it's not necessarily Rushmore, but what if we did a mini series of Andy finally plays RPGs? You know what
There
I
you
mean? And
go.
some content of that, and me just
Uh-oh.
see if it's actually as bad as I think it is, or say it is. But either way, I'll
A
say
lot of
this about
grinding.
I'll say this about Final Fantasy. I know that I'm the minority. I get it that a lot of people love it. It's obviously been a game that has stood the test of time. There's what, like 1,000 Final Fantasies? I mean, how many are there? It's crazy.
It's
I
like
know I'm
17 or something now.
right, exactly. So how many games make it
Oh, yeah.
17 games?
Well,
You know,
the mainline
Right.
ones there, 16 just came out. And then you've
Okay,
got
yeah.
some side games. Yeah.
Yeah.
either way, I get that. Hats off to it. I just don't want to play it. So that's where I'm at with it. So
That's why I had to pick it.
and I'm holding strong. I'm not doing it. I'm not caving in. I won't unless it's for
Draw the
content.
line in the sand.
We'll see where it's at. But
Yeah.
Kirk, we're gonna move on to you, man, because I don't have anything to add about that game. And Kirk, I feel like we're gonna talk about it again. But where are you going for your Link?
Well, since you said it. Yeah, for the very first time, I think maybe in the history of our fantastic show, and we have said this, we are finally going to have Link on Link.
Nice.
And a Legend of Zelda gold cart right there. And just a little additive to it, the original tips and
Nice.
tactics guide that I rolled with when I was playing that game. This game started a love for the franchise. We've talked about it all the time. I'm playing Tears of the Kingdom right now. Finally, one of my kids got me a $50 gift card for Christmas. In one of my students, and I was like, I put that together with a Target gift card somebody gave me, and another, and I went and got Tears of the Kingdom. Started playing it finally because I love Breath of the Wild so much. But every game in this series is just phenomenal. We've talked about it with the 64 with Ocarina and Majora's Mask. You talk about it in Super Nintendo with Link to the Past. You're talking about it Wind Waker. You talk about Four Swords. You talk about Skyward. So yeah, this whole series is phenomenal. And what started it all was this one. And this is the first game that I remember like trying to complete 100%. And I played it so much. I was so like obsessed with it. I remember when I beat Ganon, I literally had nightmares for like 3 days about it. Like about Ganon. Like Ganon was in my dreams. And I was like 9 or 8 or something. But I love this cart to death. It's so valuable to me. But yeah.
Legend of Zelda. Great pick. Screech, what you think about that game?
My instruction booklet's missing its cover, which stinks, but
That's honestly, that's an amazing pick. I absolutely comes off my Benjis for sure. I had the second one as a kid. That was the first Zelda that I got, was The Adventures of Link. And that's a lot different than Zelda. So my cousin they had Legend of Zelda, and they'd played through that. And then when I got Link, I think I got it for like Christmas or something. And they had to borrow it right away. Like, I think I played like 5 minutes of it, and they're like, we have to play it. We have to play it. So I let them have it because they told me how awesome this one was. So I actually have nostalgia for the first one through them more than through me playing it, right? Which is a super fun feeling to have on that regard.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, I love that game as well. It's a lot different though, and it's more different than pretty much anything in the whole library.
Absolutely, it is.
And it's very polarizing. Some people like it, some people don't. But if we're going to hard games, I would put this one not as the hardest, but definitely if you don't have a map or you don't understand where you're going, it's a pretty difficult game.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Yeah, good pick.
Hey,
Good pick.
you're up, man. Georgian,
Yeah, I'm up,
Georgian.
and I'm not going to waste any more time for this. I'm not wasting time, man, because here's what's happening. If you did it for the first time, I'm doing it for the second time because my link is The Legend of Zelda. This is a fantastic game. I thought I was going to be holding on to it and I do the link, but you did. So a little anticlimactic there. Dude, this pick is fantastic. This game fought to be my George, fought really hard to be my George, but I had to put this at the link. It just seems fitting. But really, if I had this game in front of me, I would play the death out. I would play it to death, right? So super fun game. This is kind of where it all began. This is where everything started. I remember playing this thing like crazy. The listening to the music from Zelda, which is so iconic. In the 8-bit style, and doing that is just super fun. Dude, this game is cool, man. This game is just, like you said, the gold cartridge, everything about it. What it did.
Look,
and again,
I cannot tell you how many times I read this book just to read what the characters' little stories, like they went so into this. And I think that's why I'm such like I love fantasy games. Like I remember just kind of reading this and like getting into that mythical world and something more than just a side scroller or beat 'em up.
Yeah.
This is my favorite type of games. Adventure.
You put like open world. Yeah. This was so fun. I love it. I love this game so much. And this really started it all. Again, like I said with Criteria, like a lot of these things launched so much going forward for the NES that I currently right now, the game that I'm running through on the 64 is Ocarina. Which is my favorite. I know you could throw out any of them, and I agree because they're all great. They're great. They're good games. But you can't have Ocarina if you don't have Legend of Zelda. So that's what I'm
totally agree.
That's my pick.
Totally agree. Well,
I have heard. I have heard that when they were developing it, it was so open worldy that they were like, when they tested it, people were like, well, I don't even know what to do. What do I do here? So that's why they put that very first cave in there with the sword and everything, because they were like, this is where you start. Go from here. Fly, be free.
Be free.
Right?
I love it.
I thought this might be something you were going to say, but I watched, I can't think of what the name of that YouTuber is, but he does a fantastic job like explaining the games. And he actually was like talking about the designer of this game. And can you imagine, he had no idea about Tears of the Kingdom back then, right?
Yeah.
And I've seen like, what do you call it? Fan theories and people putting things together and trying to build the timeline. There's like 3 timelines now, and making all these games together because when they did 1 and then they did 2, they didn't really put a timeline together. And then you go to like the timeline really kind of was just muddled.
Yeah.
But it all came from the creator loving to explore in his like backyard and going through caves and stuff in wherever he lived. And like, he's like, I want to make a game that does this. And he did it. And like, that's just, it's mind blowing to think like now for somebody to do it, it's like, oh, okay. But back then that wasn't something that happened. I mean, the best thing you had like that was like Adventure or E.T. I mean, nobody traveled around. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, E.T.
So it's just really cool.
Yeah.
Well,
so
we're to George. We're to the number 1, the best Nintendo game ever. Retrocart. What you got?
Well, I feel like it almost had to be this one. I don't know what else there could have been for me, because this is as high as it goes for me. It's going to be Super Mario Brothers 3. Right? I have memories of getting this, and we didn't know, like, there's no save state. So we're plugging along through this, and we get to like level 4 or something like that. It was a giant world, and it was time to go to bed for that night. And my dad was such a trooper that we paused it. And I mean, this was back in the 80s. We didn't know if we never left our VCR on all night or anything like that, right? So we didn't know if we left it on, if we could just come back and play it later. So dad would get up like every 2 hours. He had to work the next day. He'd get up every 2 hours and unpause it and play just a little bit, just so we could get up in the morning and keep playing it. And it is such an amazing game, right? Everything about this one, they took everything about the first games, and just without this one, I don't really know where we'd be in Mario, because it's so good.
Yeah.
Right.
So we just had the Mario episode with Davey. Super Mario Brothers 3 was all over it. This is my number one Benjamin. And it's only my number one Benjamin because I expected it to be y'all's number one. And I knew that would give me an opportunity to get Tecmo Bowl in at the 4. But I'll tell you this, fun fact. This is my Nintendo Power Strategy Guide from it. It is like taped together and binded. It is like completely falling apart. This page right here was my favorite. When you go into the little hut and you try and figure out the pattern to get everything. But I played this game ridiculously. I also snatched this one up. It's the same thing. It's the Mario Brothers original one. It's taped together. And the reason I share that one is because that story you just shared. No save states, no battery pack. The very first time I played Mario, I remember getting to 8-1, the first one, 8-1, and I was like, "Oh my gosh!" You didn't know where the warps were at that time. I mean, you're just playing through the game, and you play through the whole thing. And I was like, "I got to go to bed. I've got school in the morning. My mom's making me go to bed," and I just left it on all night. And I prayed that it was still there. And I woke up, and I'm eating my cereal, trying to play through 8-1. Now it sounds so funny because you can warp there in like 2.5 minutes, but Mario 3 brought so much to the table. It added the raccoon suit, which we're rocking right here, the shirt for RetroCon. It added the whistle. It added so many, like, it kind of made it more open world, so kind of like choose and pick and select different places. I love this game. It's fantastic. It is on every single list in the top 3 that I could ever find. Like, it's always the top 3, and in 90% of them, it's number one.
Yeah. This is a great game. This is a great pick. You knew this game had to make the list when we went to NES, and I agree. Like, how could it go any other way? How could it go any other? So great pick. Way to pick that one. I think everyone who's going to watch this is going to comment and agree. When we talked about several weeks ago with Davey, and we talked about Mario games, this one was mentioned. I think everybody has to talk about this game. So great pick. Well, Kirk, we know that you're not going with this because you just mentioned that. So, which is surprising. I thought we could get a Crushmore here with that one. But where are you going for your Jorge?
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, I knew it was happening. I mean, it's just stupid, but go for it.
Yeah, so anticlimactic, I said. I love Mario Brothers. I do. It's on the mountain. It's on a mountain. It's on tons of mountains. But when I'm talking about my top 4, the one I put the most hours in, it's this game. I mean, this game, Zelda, Tecmo, and Mega Man 2, I played most of my childhood through it. This game's a much longer game. I've beat it probably 10, 12 times as a kid with different parties. You're trying to beat it with fighters. You're trying to beat it with all fighters. You're trying to beat it with all. The real killers if you can beat it with all white mages. Now they have like hacks for it where you can add extra characters and some of the newer characters in the old thing. But back here, they didn't even have names. You named them. I remember the names of my guys that I would name my guys all the time. It's just, it was a fantastic game. I love this thing to death. I know it's not your fan favorite, but it's my favorite style of game, and I would rather play it than almost anything. So, yeah, it had to be my number one, and I almost made it my number two, but that meant Zelda would have been number one, and that just wouldn't have been right. So I had to have Link at Link. So, Andy, you have talked about this at length. You're not a huge fan. Retrocart, do you have anything else that you have to add for your pick?
No, I don't know what else to say about Mario 3. Yeah, I'm in. And yeah, like
I mean,
Final Fantasy is
Final
amazing.
Fantasy,
yes,
again,
Final Fantasy is absolutely amazing. That's such a great game. I love it.
Maybe one day. Who knows?
Man.
Maybe one day if I have
Dungeon
time.
maps.
I have my map is actually framed and hanging on my wall.
That's awesome.
Oh man, I have all the numbers written down here about how to get them and where to get them. That's so crazy. So meticulous. Anyways, all right, Andy.
Well, you know what? I may shock some of you guys today because my George is Princess Tomato in the Salad Kingdom. I'm just kidding. It's not that.
Nice.
Not that game at all. There is no doubt that my Super Mario Brothers 3. There's no other place you can go. I doubt anyone's list who doesn't have this. And Kirk, I know you try to like throw the excuse out there. You put this because other people. No, I can't deny it. It's the best game.
I thought we were going to have
I can't deny it. I'm a rider. You don't want to.
I'm shocked. Triple crush more this thing, but we know this is where your heart is. Just say it. You know it's up there. Maybe it's not your George because of Final Fantasy.
I mean, it literally is my number 5. I mean, if we have a 5, it's a 5. It's a 5.
Well, you can't mention it today in Benjamin. So I'm going to talk about it again here. I love this, dude. We're going to talk about the Tanuki suit. I was scrolling through stuff and I found a meme and I feel like it's so fitting. It says, get you a man that looks at you the way I look at the Tanuki suit, right? It's like, it's so good. This game is fantastic. We want to talk about what did this game do for the power-ups was amazing. The Tanuki suit, right? The hammer suit. You had the frog suit, right? You had Goomba shoe. You had all of these things that you could do in here. The raccoon Mario. All of these fantastic things that were so iconic. We're talking about. I love the fact that there was like alternate ways to beat levels, so you unlock different paths and things, certain ways that you would beat it. So it forced you to kind of go back into the game and do those things. I love the music boxes, right, where you can bounce and you can jump and you can do all this stuff. It just did so many things, and we want to say it's so interesting because I think the thing that Mario as a whole has gotten right, obviously the gameplay in almost every Mario game is fantastic. It's so replayable. It's obviously iconic for a reason, but each game has its own feel, and they're each amazing in their own sense. They have the soundtracks for each game are so iconic. Like I could legitimately, and I've done this more than I probably care to mention, but I've just put Spotify on Mario soundtrack during my day. And it's just been so fun and such a trip in nostalgia because it'll play the ones through the NES, through the Super Nintendo, through the 64, all of these things. And they're so good. I love this game. I mentioned it when we talked about platformers. I played this for the most part. I played this on the Super Nintendo with the All Stars cartridge, but I did play this. My uncle had this game. This is such a fun game. I know that, when I put that comment out there on Facebook, every single person said, well, it's Super Mario Brothers 3, of course. Like, how could you think anything else? So this is the people's pick. This is my pick. This is Screech's pick. Absolutely. This is the George of NES games.
Mm-hmm.
Not disagreeing. I was so ready for it, just letting you know, that I've got my Wizard Nintendo Pocket Power magazine. Check this out. It's missing the front cover. It does have the back though with that, but look, the Wizard, and we all know that movie fantastically. This is where this game basically got announced, and in there in the middle cover, Super Mario Brothers 3. Here's the thing. Mario is such a staple in Nintendo. It has to be on a list. But Mario, for me, is more nostalgic than anything involved with playing the game. Like, the game, to me, is just fun, and it brings back memories. It isn't much about the game for me. So, I love the game. Don't get me wrong. But, yeah, great pick. Of course, this is where y'all going. I knew it. That's why I went that route and kind of picked. But I have my Benjamins loaded up, ready to go. So, I think I'm going to be good. So,
I'm ready.
It is time for us to jump into our second portion. Now, if this is your first time here, all your Retrocart fans, thank you for being here. And anybody else that has joined us over the course of the last few weeks, thank you for being here. Our second portion is what we like to call All About the Benjamins. I'll tell you the rules once we get inside. All right, man, all about the Benjamins. So Benjamin Franklin. So we're talking about iconic historians in the United States because of the Rushmore. Benjamin Franklin's widely considered somebody that might have gotten on that mountain. He was involved with plenty of things back in that time. So he, to us, is the name of our honorable mentions. Now, we play a little fun game. Retrocart, you probably don't play fantasy football since you don't like football so much out there in Canada. But when you do play fantasy, we draft in what we call a snake draft. And it kind of goes like this. Almost every one of them do it. And what happens is you'll have the first pick. And once you pick it, nobody else can pick another one. We can't pick any of the any of the 12 that we've already picked. And we can't pick any of them from here on out. So you're going to go first. I'm second. Andy then will get 2 picks, and it will come back the other direction. I'll go again. You get 2 picks, and you end up getting the last pick of the draft. So you'll get first pick, you'll get last pick, 2 in the middle. What is the first game that you're sad that it didn't make a mountain anywhere?
So my Benjamins, I kind of picked ones that I loved. I just still love to this day. So they might not be, you might probably will have some you won't have to deal with here. First one's going to be Legacy of the Wizard. This is a super cool game. This is like from a whole series of games. I love this game. I love it so much. We rented it all the time as a kid. And eventually I got it in Christmas from my grandma. And it was the exact same copy we rented. Mom picked it up out of the bin. Such a good game. I love it.
All right. Cool pick.
Yeah,
cool pick.
I love that pick. It's kind of a adventure, a role-playing meld. Hey, look, we can't go much further. I can't believe it didn't make the mountain, but I can believe it did make the mountain. That's why I put it here, because I knew it was going to make it to me. And I have to go with your boy, Iron Mike Tyson, baby. Mike Tyson's Punch-Out.
Yeah, Punch-Out. Good stuff, man.
This game, this game is so much. And you want to talk about hard game?
Yeah,
hard game. Tyson stuff.
That's a good one. That's a good one. I cannot believe these games are falling into my lap. This is so awesome. I never in a million years thought this would happen. With my first Benjamin, I'm not going too far from Mario World. I'm actually going back in time. Super Mario Brothers 2. Give it to me. I'm taking Mario 2. I love this game. A lot of people are kind of like polarized about it. I freaking love this. So Super Mario 2, that's where I'm going to go. And then with my next pick, because I did back-to-back, how in the world do we talk about NES without talking about Contra? Give me Contra, man. This game, you want to talk about kind of like Rambo / Terminator, Arnold Schwarzenegger, just super macho buff, shoot him. Yeah, love this game. Contra, got to pick it.
All right, I'm nervous. I'm nervous because these games are really good, but I got enough. So I'm gonna go with one of the most underrated games in the history of the platform. I'm going with, if you've watched our shorts, I've used the music quite a bit. I'm going with River City Ransom.
Nice.
And I will tell you this, it is the one game the one game that I can remember completing it by myself without any help 100%.
I like the sprites in that one too. Those are really cool. Those are really
and look, speaking of the sprites, that's what's been behind me the whole night.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. All right.
I love the names for the
Back
guys.
to you, Retrocart. We are back to you. You get a back-to-back pick here now.
Ooh, back-to-back picks. There's so many good games. All right, it's gonna have to be Blaster Master.
Nice.
Such a cool. It's got so many different games inside of one game. Right, top down, side scrolling. Such a great game. I love this one.
You mentioned this in your last video, and I was like, oh, he might say that, and I forgot that you mentioned it. Because you mentioned it when you were talking about Dino Ricky, or the game before Dino Ricky, Robo Warrior.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead.
Number 2. Okay. Ooh, it's gonna be Adventure Island 2. I have really amazing, fun memories of this one. I love the little dinosaurs you can ride. It's such a cool game.
Look, I'm going to throw this out there. I love that game. It's super fun. It's also kind of hard. But I don't have any nostalgia for it because I never owned it. I always played it on some other times, but it wasn't a game that I put a lot of hours in. It was a rental for me. It shouldn't even be down this far on the list. I'm going to take it now, even though I know you're not going to say it, Andy, but I feel like it shouldn't be the last pick of my draft because it's my favorite baseball game of all time, Baseball Stars. And I cannot believe it made it to 7. This should have been on my top 4, but I couldn't figure out how to knock something else off. I talked about I love games that you kind of design things. It's the first game I can remember building your team from scratch. So,
yeah,
love it. Baseball Stars, great music, great gameplay.
These are fantastic picks, and I got nervous in the beginning because right off the bat, 2 of my Benjamins got taken, but I actually have a nice little list to pick from, which is making it a little more difficult on me. But I have got to go with my next one because, again, I like the series that this launched, and this is where we're seeing it start. Give me Metroid.
It's in my hand. It was my last pick. I loved it. It was literally he's going to say this.
Yeah, Metroid, man. I love this game. Gotta love it. And how can we talk about NES without talking about? I mean, again, they're all iconic, right? We know we've established that, but this one just took the gameplay to a different level, and this is what I think of when I think NES. Give me Duck Hunt. Give me Duck Hunt for the NES. Going a little crazy here.
This
you
always have something. Duck Hunt is a fun game, but on your top 8, you're so young. You're so young.
Oh, that dog.
Hey, look. Shout out to Rad Bash and Mad Belmont for the platformers. Hey, Mad Belmont, this is an ode to you, my friend. Castlevania 3, Dracula's Curse.
There you go.
That's how I'm finishing my mountain.
I know Belmont is a fan of that one. So, all right, Retrocart, you have the absolute last pick, which means every other game for the NES is up for grabs for you. What's mystery irrelevant? What's the last pick?
No pressure whatsoever, right?
All right, nothing.
I'm gonna have to go with something. Look at that!
Oh!
DuckTales.
Nice!
It's DuckTales. Just because it's those Disney Afternoon, all of those ones. Rescue Rangers was like there's so much fun. Other than Tailspin, I wasn't a fan of Tailspin, but right, DuckTales.
Oh, this game has no business being that good.
No, at all. And
you know what? Hey, look, going back, I didn't want to give it away because I thought I might have to use it because I do love this game a lot. The very first speedrunner was speedrunning this.
Oh,
and
nice.
like beating the game in like 4 minutes because of all the glitches that they figured out. Yeah. Love this game. Fantastic game. There's so many other good things. I mean, games that we mentioned in the past. You mentioned Zelda 2. Right. I mean, Mega Man 3, Dragon Warrior. I mean, so many. But let's
Double
move
Dragon,
along.
right? Like, there's so many
Yeah.
iconic games in this.
Nobody picked Super
Blades of
Mario
Steel.
Brothers, like the
Blades of Steel.
Super Mario Brothers. Nobody did.
So,
you know?
Blade of Steel, yeah, man. You talk about Blade of Steel. That fighting scene where you can
Right?
fight in the game, dude, that's so awesome.
It
That's
is,
so
right?
awesome.
I honestly
Well, look,
think
man.
Super Mario Brothers is unsaid. I think it's an unsaid, amazing
I
Nintendo
get it.
game.
I respect
Right?
that. I'm here for that. So, yeah, absolutely.
So I was just before we go, Retro Cannon is my son, and he is doing retro video games. And since we're talking NES, I thought I might give you what his timeline looks like when we finally get to do it. I wish hey, look, I apologize to all his fans. My Masters takes up way too much of my time. It's almost over. But Super Mario Brothers 3 is the first Nintendo game coming off the bat because it's the first one on the list. But it goes Super Mario Brothers 3. Listen to this lineup. Zelda.
Love it.
Simon's Quest. Castlevania 2. Mega Man 2. Snake Rattle Roll. Solar Jetman. That game's hard. Punch Out. Double Dragon.
There's one.
Batman.
Yeah. Right.
DuckTales.
Right. Obviously.
And we round it out with the quiz and go into Game Boy, which is Tetris.
Nice.
So that's his list of games when we get to Nintendo for his show. But man, what a fantastic show, man.
Cool.
Retrocart, thanks for coming on. Remember us
having me.
when we get to a good time because you are blowing up. Remind us where they can find you. Hey, wait, speaking of where they can find you, what are you actually doing right now? What's the plan for the next few weeks?
So we've got there's going to be a cleaning video. I like to get these ones. I call them Retrocart Rescues, and I'll find the games that have stickers on them. They have Sharpie all over them. Someone has written their name on it and colored in that little triangle, and I clean them up and get them all fixed up because that's how I like my games. I'm gonna there's some more cheap NES games coming up. Gonna involve some other YouTubers. See where we go from there. I'm actually gonna try to go and add a banger of an NES game to my list here. So hopefully I can pick that one up, and that'll be a fun video coming up here right away. So other than that, find me on YouTube.
Find me at Retrocart Collector at YouTube, Instagram. If you go to our list down below, in our section, we have YouTubers that we've partnered with. They've been guest hosts. Every one of theirs is in that list as one to go and subscribe and join. You're a part of our Summit Squad family now. Thank you for joining us, Screech. And we are excited to see where you go. Hey, Retrocart, what'd you call it? Retrocart, when you're fixing them?
Retrocart Rescues. Retrocart
Rescue. One of my favorite YouTubers, and I know you know him, is John Riggs doing open cart surgery.
Yeah.
And I started following him, and I reached out to him, which, gosh, he was the first YouTuber I ever reached out to, and he was going to come on, and that's when he was a nobody. That was like a year and a half ago when he was like half of what he is. Now he's like 200,000 people, and he's like, man, I don't have a lot of time.
Too.
Oh, man, he's such a nice guy. I love watching his show. Yeah. Well, I wanted him to come on for our cereal episode. Do you remember that, Andy?
Yeah.
And he did like a whole cereal book. But anyways, open cart surgery. We have gone way too long. Actually, we haven't. I mean, we're here. But thank you for being here. Let's talk about what we got coming up next, Andy. So we have coming around the corner, we've got my buddy Kevin, who's still undecided. And gosh, he might get skipped. So if anybody wants to be on the show, my boy Kevin, bro, you got to get on this thing, man. But then we have Blerdish, which his name is also Keith Cooper. And we met him at Louisiana RetroCon and St. Tammany Collectors Con. He is a black nerd, and he is coming on for beat 'em ups. Then we're going to jump into music. We have next gen. We have pop culture pastor coming on. We have next gen nerd. We have a couple other guys. Oh, we have misadventures of Team AJ. We have so many people coming on. coming in the new month. But thank you for being around here. We never thought we'd get to 3 years. We never thought we'd get to over 600 subs. It was kind of a pipe dream, but man, help us get to that 1,000. Drop a comment, share what your top 4 are, share with a friend that you might think will like us. And man, we're just astounded to be here. Thank you for coming on, Screech. Andy, do you have anything to tell our friends before we go?
Man, it's always awkward to say goodbye, but it's been super fun. We still got a couple more episodes of video games coming up, so make sure you watch those things. Catch us live. Like, yeah, if you're joining us, we're going to have a few lives that are coming up. Tons of fun to hang out with you guys, chat in the comments, and do all that kind of stuff.
Well, that's a good idea. Look, so we are bopping around the idea that we are going to be live predominantly on Friday nights. So if that's something that really you're interested in, we're excited for it. We seem to get a lot more interaction. And then these pre-recorded are going to die down just slightly. You'll probably see a lot more shorts. You'll see a lot more smaller content that we can manage. And then our longer content will just straight up be on live. And so that's kind of where we're going. And we can really invest a lot of our time and editing into better small videos instead of lots of hours into our longer videos that to be honest, most of y'all aren't even listening to me right now. So we appreciate that. But Andy, I think it's time.
I think so. It's time to say goodnight to our friends. Summon Squad, let's end this thing like we always do. This is the Rushmore Show, where it's all about your top 4
and nothing more.
Peace.
Peace.